There are currently 30 mutants in Marvel Strike Force. All they need is a leader. Hey everyone, Genome here, catching up with my next Marvel Strike Force character speculation video. Now, full transparency, I've gotten no rumors, no one's leaking anything to me. I have no idea what's on the horizon for character development in the game. I'm just kind of fan theory crafting a little bit and trying to make it applicable to the at least current game that we're playing right now.
And now I'd like to introduce the man who will put the U in improvement.
So let's talk about who you saw in the thumbnail there. Yes, I'm talking about bringing Professor X to the game. That's right. Could be the leader to end all leaders, and the whole reason I made this video was something I thought about for his passive, and I think it's very, very overdue, especially considering the ever-growing number of characters in the game with specific tags, but more on that later when we get to it. So, what would Professor X character traits be? I mean, pretty basic stuff. Hero, global, mutant, support, and we're going to make this guy a legendary. It only fits his station in life. I mean, if Magneto's legendary, his diametric opposite, Charles should be as well. So, yeah, that would be his tag. So, nothing, untoward or unexpected there. So, let's get into his kit a little bit. I'm even going to go so far as to name his abilities in the imitable MSF style. So, please try to hold back laughter. So, let's get started here. So, for his basic, I'm going to call it Psychic Strike. With it, it's going to do 100% damage to adjacent targets. Well, there could be a bigger thing later, but anyway, 100% damage to adjacent targets, so main target and adjacent target. Think like Quake, something like that. When you do that, it's going to bury yourself and all allies for 10% of Professor X's health. Now, I don't plan on making him a health powerhouse. In fact, I don't plan on making him a stat machine other than maybe, of course, focus and resistance. That will be his forte, but or fort if you prefer. But, just something to add a little survivability to people, because a lot of the mutants characters are a little bit lacking in that, except for on specific teams. More on that later. So that's just basic. I don't want it to do big damage. It's basically a good filler that does something productive for the entire team. I think that's really going to be the theme for him, right? He is a stereotypical support character. Think like Bard, like in Final Fantasy XI or something like that, Straight support. I don't want his stuff doing really that much damage. He's all about support and/or control and longevity. So that's his basic Psychic Strike. For her special, I'm going to call it Soothing Mind. Oh, isn't that nice? Upon its use, it's going to apply immunity to all mutant allies. Kind of makes sense, right? Think of it as like a psychic barrier around them. It's also going to stun the primary target, so it has a little bit on the control side as well. And after all that, it's going to clear all negative debuffs from your own teammates. So really, I mean, there's nothing new there. Except for the immunity thing for the most part, but it's kind of like mix a little bit of Emma and some other stuff together, and putting immunity on yourself is extremely powerful. It's kind of a rare thing, that's why a lot of people don't realize how strong it is, but immunity and its corresponding negative effects there
Say it
are just absolutely either stellar or brutal, because Disrupted can really ruin your day, let me tell you something. But I don't want him throwing out Disrupted, that's for other characters to do, but I wanted him to give everyone immunity and stun primary target, so it's an all, it's an all bundled in one ability, and those are usually pretty strong. And the team might need to cleanse, so he can fill a lot of roles, so you can be a little more, shall we say, loose with theory crafting. Alright, so for his third and final ability, I'm going to go with Psychic Bombardment. And what that's going to do is it's going to clear defense up from all enemies. It's also going to apply offense up to 3 teammates and have those attack the lowest health character on the enemy team. Now, I'm not going to say whether it's a minion or whatever, just the lowest health. So you got to use this kind of strategically, right? This will bypass Taunt, which is a great execute move here, right? It's also going to bury your all teammates for 30% of Professor X's health. And it's also going to place 2 random positive effects on your team, should I say. So Once again, kind of an all, not really all-encompassing, but an all-purpose kind of utility move there that's going to both increase your survivability, hurt the survivability of the others, and maybe give a good nuke option for your mutant teammates there. Probably going to be mutants. More on that later. And, just once again, an overall strong thing. It might be a little OP depending on your damage output and depending on who is hurt on the other side, if they have any defense at all. But guess what? They're not getting defense up, so they're going to need inherent defense. Now, they might have things like deflect or block on there, so this won't remove that. So they have some chance of survival with this, right? So that is what I'm calling his ultimate now, Psychic Bombardment. So, okay, so everything we've seen so far, it seems pretty strong. I don't know if it borderlines OP, but it's strong, right? It's befitting a character of his stature. But I want to talk about his passive now, and this is where I think he gets so interesting to me. For the main reason, the main reason I wanted to make this video was to actually put the idea of this passive out there, and here it is. I'm going to call his passive Legacy Leadership. Double L's, I guess. And basically what it does is it removes all team tags from every mutant character and replaces them with the Unite tag. So instead of Astonishing X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, X-Factor, X-Force, whatever, they all have the Unite tag. What this will do is all team-specific traits will work with whoever other mutants are on the field as long as Professor X is in the team. So, I mean, if you're not really kind of picking up what I'm laying down there, here's some examples here. So for Jubilee, like right here, it says, when Astonishing X-Men ally drops from 50% health, add the speed bar and all that for Beast. It's just going to say with Unite, or if a mutant on this team, of course with Professor X, but usually I would probably use the Unite tag to make it easier. It's going to work the same way. Another good example, let's use Blob for example. Blob. So on his passive here, when a Brotherhood ally drops behind 50% health, gain taunt. When a United ally drops below 50% health, gains taunt. And vice versa. There's so many abilities that are tied in with specific team traits, and I think it's a real shame. Even Domino has some actual application with her passive, with gaining dodge chance. X-Force allies gain 10% chance, or dodge chance? Nope. United allies gain 10% dodge chance. You can get so creative with all the mutants in there. Another example, it also has to do with dodge. Go figure. It was one of my favorite characters. My favorite mutant characters as far as this game goes is Psylocke. I think she's incredibly valuable just for her passive, but you got to use Beast on her team, and Beast does not function at optimum with Uncanny X-Men. He does with Astonishing X-Men. He can still work, but not as great. And then if you're using it on War, you're breaking up two teams there. It's a little bit weird, but and it's for raids, and you kind of get pigeonholed in. But what I'm saying is that all the passives would probably work together. If Colossus, same thing. If you want to use Colossus, he doesn't just work with Uncanny anymore down here with auto taunt and all that. And this also comes in to play in the fact that a lot of people, especially for the older mutants, have worked on these characters for a long time. They might have them at very high levels and have no place to use them because their tags don't line up, right? And they could possibly be meta if they were allowed to coexist with the other teams. Like I said, the possibilities are endless with this. I think it would be a super cool passive. There might be some abuse cheese there. I'm not sure if you could let Phoenix in there, to be honest with you. Maybe you can build a character in there or a text in there that doesn't work with Phoenix or whatever. I mean, her passive is really strong, but then again, a lot of the passives are really strong. I mean, if you think about Magneto's passive, that's huge, so we're talking about bumping up even more. I don't know, because I had some other stuff to tack on to Professor X's. So this might need a little tweaking. It might need a little more theory crafting to not make it too broken, like getting the stats way out there. But at the same time, if you raise the stats up to a huge amount, on some of these older characters, that only would put them close to on par with what's out there right now. If you tripled, say, Psylocke's health or something, she might almost be what, like Secret Avengers are nowadays or whatever. So it's kind of a leveling here. So I think it would be a really cool passive thing to go in there. And I have a few things to add to it, but I don't want to make him too bonkers. This tag removal thing might be too bonkers as it is, but it might be a nightmare to code. I don't know, but it keeps rattling around my brain.
Brain, what is brain?
Really would love a character like this. I think it would help so much to help people with their rosters in this game to not become completely, useless in later in stuff. So some other portions of his passive I would like to see would also be to just passively grant 50% health and focus to the team, whatever team he's on. There you go. Kind of think of it like the Brotherhood one. Now, maybe those two shouldn't stack once again, but once again, it might just raise up their character levels to, at least compete. Only problem is it does run into a little bit issue with newer release mutants. It might be, their stats might be through the stratosphere, but there's ways to fix all that. But anyway, that's one of the things I would maybe like to see in there. Maybe that wouldn't work with other passive health and damage boosts, whatever. We'll see. Anyway, I'll let you guys in the comments below kind of tear that down a little bit. Also, Professor X over the years has a long history with Magneto, right? They are basically, opposite sides of the same coin. They both have similar ideas, but drastically different ways of going about them. And they're much less antagonistic towards each other than they are against the world in general or their other mutant enemies and or allies. So I would say when you're paired with Magneto, add 30% damage and bleed to his ult. And other than that, they would just they would assist each other on basics. So kind of like, what's her name there? In Corvus and Proxima, kind of like that. They would just assist each other on basics. Nothing too drastic there, just a little something extra if you wanted to run with mags. On any non-attack ability, assist that character with a full basic, a full strength basic. So, lots of characters that have buffing powers, or think like Marauders, how Sabretooth will attack others when they're not using, I forget what the name of it is. Let's look at it real quick. When they're not using non-attack ability, there it was. I couldn't think of that. So just kind of like Sabretooth attacking, it'd be kind of the same thing, except for it would be Professor X doing it, and while he's doing that, he's hitting adjacent and giving barrier. So just a little more survivability on the basic, or excuse me, on the passive. And finally, once again, just another little tidbit for those who actually know anything about the comic books. Know that Cain Marko, the Juggernaut, is actually Charles Xavier's stepbrother, so they have a long history together. Juggernaut is not a mutant. He's not a mutant. But we'd have to figure out some way of kind of maybe incorporating him just for the fanboy service, right? So I would say that if Juggernaut is an ally, he gains 50% extra health, because his health is really lacking nowadays compared to other tanks, or tanks, and he would gain auto taunt. That's it. I wouldn't change anything else about him, just to give a little nod to the old school fans out there, and maybe bring Juggernaut back in a little bit, because maybe you don't want to use Colossus, maybe you have a big Juggernaut because you worked on Brotherhood early. Whatever the case may be, I just think it would be a really fun passive on a very interesting Legendary. So yeah, hopefully this wasn't too rambling and made a little bit of sense, but what say you? What would your ideas be for Professor X? Do you like any of the ideas I put out there for him? Would you want something completely different? Let me know in the comments below. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it. So yeah, I think I'll go ahead and sign off for now, but just wait till I do Apocalypse, because I got some ideas for him too. So sometimes in the future there. But yeah, so let me know what you think in the comments below. And until next time, this is Genome, just putting on his theory crafting thinking hat one more time.